Hello everyone, my name is Carolina Ruiz and today I'm going to be doing the children's literature math lesson. So I'll begin by reviewing and summarizing the book. So let me just go back a little bit. So this is also going to be for my digital portfolio entry number 2. So in this entry, as well as the children's literature math lesson, we're going to be including the number one review and summarize the book. Explain how it fits in your math lesson. Number 2, a video or screencast of you teaching the lesson. Number 3, be sure to explain the grade level and teaching objective. And number 4, a written lesson plan. So let's begin. So I have here number 1, review and summarize the book. Explain how it fits with your math lesson. Okay, so I'm going to pull up the document. And so here is the title and cover of my book. So I decided to go with a children's book called The Grouchy Ladybug by Eric Carle. So pretty much, I thought this was a really cute and really funny children's book because we get to see how the grouchy ladybug is just sassy and they don't really go along anywhere. As fascinating as the math aspects of this book are, I think it's overall a great book for children to learn about math and at the same time learn about just a funny ladybug. Like in the title, it says The Grouchy Ladybug. So this book pretty much tells the story of the grouchy ladybug. We begin by the grouchy ladybug, having an interaction with another ladybug, and the grouchy ladybug just wants to take over and eat, whereas the other ladybug is like, hey, why don't we just share? The grouchy ladybug proceeds and says, okay, let's fight. And so the ladybug is like, okay, like, let's do it. And so the grouchy ladybug, being the grouchy ladybug and being almost like a coward, uh, they're like, you know what, you're not big enough. So we can see from there that the ladybug at different times of day as it progresses, this is where like the math components come in. Uh, the ladybug, as time progresses, as for example 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, the ladybug progresses to you know pick on other animals that progressively get larger, which is something that I'll explain in the lesson. So the ladybug, as like I said before, as the clock strikes and keeps getting later, the ladybug interacts with larger animals until the grouchy ladybug, reaches to the largest animal that the book explains or illustrates. So the ladybug constantly says, okay, let's fight. And all the animals, the grouchy ladybug probably expecting them to be like, what? No, I'm not going to fight you. They always say yes. But the grouchy ladybug always says, but you're not big enough. So this is where I thought it was really funny and interesting because this ladybug never ended up fighting anyone. And in the end, spoiler alert, the ladybug does go back and share with the first kind ladybug that wanted to share since the beginning. They don't say anything, they don't judge them, they just share and call it a night. So let's go back and see what we need to do next. So now, okay, so explain how it fits with your math lesson. So this fits in my math lesson because I decided to do something regarding shapes, sizes, and numbers. For example, smallest to largest. So now I'm going to be doing the teaching the lesson. So here we have all the characters. So these little guys being the smallest ones. I was only going to use this picture, but I enjoyed how these were a lot larger. So due to COVID, I don't have access to a printer, but I decided to explain more of my math lesson. So what I would do in this math lesson, this would be for a third grade class setting, The math lesson would take approximately half an hour. And let's see what else we need to cover. And the teaching objective is, the teaching objective is for students to be able to, I have it written here on my lesson plan. So it's students will be able to take a series of pictures and place them in order from smallest to largest. So let's go back to this. So we have here the ladybug, not the grouchy ladybug, but the ladybug the book began with. Second interaction, yellow jacket. Third interaction, stag beetle. Fourth interaction, praying mantis. Fourth, sparrow, lobster, skunk, snake, hyena, gorilla, rhino, elephant, and whale. These all have something in common because they are already in the order of the book, meaning that these are already getting larger as we go. So the ladybug being, well, actually these little guys were actually the smallest, so that's why I wanted to include. So these being the smallest, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. So I want my lesson to be wrapped around just grouping smallest to largest and numbering that. For example, what I would do is that I would get all the characters, absolutely all of them, including these little guys, and print out reasonable size cuts. For example, these little guys being the smallest and the whale being the largest cutout. So my students have an easier time understanding because maybe they haven't seen all the animals presented in the book. So I would have cutouts of these animals, and what they would have to do is we would all, as a class, sit in a circle with some poster paper tape and the cutouts in the middle. So what we would do is that every student would get the chance when their time comes to put these all in order, and if they can, do it by themselves by numbering and putting them in the shape and size that they belong to. Or what they can do is someone put shape, size, and then numbers. So 3 different people, let's say. So everyone's going to take their turn in doing this. And in the end, I would just want my students to write about some of the few things they took away from the book that is more related to writing and how that was successful to their math journey. So like I said, I would just take cutouts and make them smallest to largest because, as we all know, ladybugs can be really tiny. So to get a life-size cutout is inaccurate because it's far too small. And for example, getting a life-size cutout of a whale is vastly large. So yes, so that is my lesson plan, and this would take, like I said, approximately 30 minutes, and we as a class would work on it together. So now for my lesson plan. So as I said, this is for first graders, and the book, like I said, I would be using The Grouchy Ladybug by Eric Carle. It would be 30 minutes, and the standard objective is use things around the classroom that measure an objective length, sort number, sizes, and shapes. Begin to understand the concepts of pattern between the objects. Multiple intelligence addressed. Multiple intelligence will be used with the factors of math, numbers, sizes, shapes, hands-on learning, and using literature to learn math. Goal of unit. For students to be able to sort by sizing small to large. So this is something more specific because we're talking about sizing, which is relevant to shape and numbers. Objective of lesson. Students will be able to take a series of pictures and place them in order from smallest to largest. So the assessment. Strategy for my assessment. Students will begin with questions regarding any of the following: size, shape, or numbers. The class will then identify their favorite animal aloud and mention any of the following: size, shape, or number. This will be introduced to the children's book. The class will then be introduced to the children's book, The Grouchy Ladybug by Eric Carle. The book will be read aloud to the class with different tones and voices for each animal so the children can get a better understanding of what kind of animal it is and the difference between all the animals, seeing that the rules are different. Questions will be asked regarding size of the animals in the book. Cutouts will be provided in every animal listed in the book in relevance to their size for students to eventually be able to tape them in a chart from biggest to smallest, least to greatest. They will number each animal in the order they have to be in. The class will then talk about and share the animals presented. So the learning environment, strategies to meet diversified learners. Diverse learners will get the opportunity to take a look at the actual book one-on-one. We will talk and work on the project as a class so none of the students feel left out or less than for not understanding the material. Colors, hands-on work, shapes, sizes, and numbers will be provided to suit the needs of all students. Materials, equipment, and technology. So we're going to need the book, the cutouts of the characters in the book, printed out with color just because this sparks children's imagination, paper and tape for some. So this is not really necessary, but I think that using some kind of tablet, computer would be useful for students if they need further help regarding the organization of numbers, shapes, or size. Steps throughout the lesson. Intro. Ask entertaining questions regarding their favorite animals and how it relates to the lesson and shape of the animal. This will spark interest in students because they will be able to speak up before we begin. So they'll start getting entertained, they'll begin to take interest in the lesson before we've even begun. Ask for predictions, opinions for the grouchy ladybug. This way students feel comfortable with sharing their thoughts and the instructor will get a feel for what students know and understand. Define numbers, size, and shape to the class of the pictures and definitions. So since these are the main factors of my lesson plan, I want to make sure that my students will be able to understand the concepts before we dive in. Read aloud the grouchy ladybug with different tones for different characters in the book. Make ladybug sassy voice. Because the ladybug is the main character, I want my students to know how stubborn they can be. Rational. Students will get most of the rich and useful information since we'll be working with and around the book itself. An instructor will be there to further explain, but content will derive straight from book. Through. Read aloud the grouchy ladybug with different tones and voice for each of the characters in the book. After, all students will form a close bond together while we sit in crisscross applesauce in a circle with the pictures of the characters, regular paper, and tape in the middle. Students will get the opportunity to make predictions of size, order of the size and order of the characters as well as their shape. We will be numbering the sizing as a class. Students will be able to create their own sizing pattern, smallest to biggest, when their turn comes. The rational. Students will be able to be hands-on after reading the book in a colorful and interactive environment. They will learn how to use math outside of just the numbers. Though that is an important factor of the lesson, they will always get the opportunity to work as a class. Beyond. Students will write their own version of the grouchy ladybug. They can write however they interpret the book. However, they will have to use 3 of the following words that emphasize the book: big, flew, and met. Rational. Assessing students if they understand the mathematical concepts of what we learned for the day. This way they will not feel nervous being right or wrong. Instead, they will get creative. So that is it for my digital portfolio entry to my lesson plan and my children's literature book. Thank you so much.